It's already extremely hard to live in life, but this, depression, is sin. Any advice or clarity on this? Welcome back to episode 115 of the What's the Dill podcast, the place where we answer the most viral questions about Catholic life. I'm your host, Pete Dill. We have some great questions for you today. Thank you so much for checking in, watching. Make sure you like, subscribe, share this podcast with someone who would enjoy it. Great questions. We're going to go over some very diverse topics. First question, we're talking about college. I'm scared for college. What should I do? Hi all, I was recently talking with a friend about college. Will I be fine even if I don't have enough funds for college? I'm a bit scared now. I don't know what to do. I doubt I could ever get a full ride. Where should I go from here? Any advice or tips? This is very scary. The rising costs of college are absolutely insane. I graduated college in 2012, and it has gotten so much more expensive. It is insane how expensive college is. And I promise you, wages are not going up compared to the cost of college. It's not like your starting salary is an extra $30,000 a year like it is an extra $30,000 a year, every year more expensive. It's in college. I saw something that was, I think it was a state school. I can't remember what school it was. Wake Forest. Wake Forest, this coming school year, for an out-of-state college student, tuition, books, housing, $95,000. $95,000? That's a house in some parts of the country. A house for 1 year of school. So college is expensive. I get it. It's scary. Scary to think about. So, I think a couple things. I think first and foremost, I'm in the job world right now, and you obviously need a college degree, but I think there's ways to get the college degree which won't have an effect on the future of your working. So there's ways to get a college degree cheaply that I think won't hurt you at all in your career path. So for example, going to community college. No one in the interview process asks if you go to community college. They just care about your degree and where you get the degree from. So being able to get an associate's for 2 years of community college can save you a lot of money. That's one way. I think another way would be to go to your in-state public school. Try to find the cheapest option in-state. I know that's not the most glamorous idea if you want to go to a big football school in the SEC and you're from the Northeast, but it'll save you money. And then another thing I think you can do is to try to find work programs in your college that can help with tuition. I didn't really know about this in college, but there's work programs that can help with tuition. So if you work so many hours at the front desk of the campus club, you get partial tuition paid for. Or if you put in so many hours with the student group, you get part of tuition. You get part of a scholarship. So there are options out there. You can check into that. And I was not great at that. Finding different options out there. I didn't really know about certain options. You kind of hear things, but it's not until I saw kids that were maybe working for the Catholic Center that were getting partial tuition. Or even sometimes when you get a master's, you can do work study programs. You're getting your whole master's paid for. So I know that's a master's degree, but you can look into the university and see where they're helping with college tuition. Sometimes being a manager of a sports team, that can help with college tuition. That's a lot of work, and I know that's not every program, but sometimes it helps. They help with tuition. So you get one scholarship split up amongst a few managers. I mean, that can help. So there are options. I feel like I wanted to speak to it because I saw this insane stat that said the coming school year for out-of-state students. The coming school year tuition for out-of-state students for Wake Forest is $95,000. How is that possible, schools? How is that possible? So Really insane. Yeah, if you're younger out there, let me know what you kind of think about, tuition in schools, the ROI on your tuition, because I'd love to hear from those that are in it how you're dealing with it, and if anything I said made sense, or if that's like applicable or not. So I'd love to hear from you on that. Okay, next question. This is about relationships. So much of our life is relationships, and so much of our Catholic faith is relationships, our relationship with God and relationship with other people. Question is, should I go to a friend's kid's birthday party? Would you go to a friend's kid's birthday party if they called you a jerk and told you to get a life, dude? One of my friends wrote this to me indirectly in a common group chat of ours of friends, and then he just left the group chat. Then he sent an invite to his kid's first birthday party in a text message. I was really confused. Should I go? What should I do? All right. So much of our life with each other is our relationships. So in this scenario, the hard thing is that you probably got to talk to your friend and you got to say, when you told me to get a life, when you called me a jerk, I wasn't sure if you were kidding or not, but like that was offensive. That hurt my feelings. I was kind of hurt by that. I just want to check in and see what you meant. Why did you say that? And are we all good? The friend could be like, you know what, dude, you are a jerk. Blah, blah, blah. I don't want to be around you. Okay, well, you know what? You don't have to be treated like that. So now you know. And now you're like, all right, this guy's treating me like a jerk. That's crazy. I don't need that type of negative energy in my life. But maybe your friend will say, oh my gosh, I was just kidding. I'm sorry. I had a really rough day. I shouldn't have said that. I'm sorry. I was actually being a jerk. I shouldn't have called you a jerk. And then, all right, now you're feeling better and you can talk about it a little bit. But the best thing here is probably not to push it under the rug. I mean, how many times do we sweep things under the rug in our relationships and it just boils over? How many times do we sweep nasty details under the rug of our relationships, or pain, or things that hurt us, or things that offend us? We sweep it under the rug and we hope it gets better, and it doesn't really get better. We end up just maybe developing a grudge, or we maybe end up boiling over and exploding on the person, or maybe we end up getting really angry at the person. But grudges, not talking about it ends up developing grudges. And I think, for something like this, maybe this guy was texting you as a kind of like a passive aggressive way to be like, hey, I'm sorry, I really want you to be this birthday party. You don't know. And yeah, that's not like no justifying that passive aggressive behavior, but maybe talk to him about it. Actually talk to him like, hey, I was kind of confused. I feel like it was mixed signals. One day you're calling me a jerk, the next day you're inviting me to a party. This uncertainty kind of leaves me feeling uneasy. Like, what's up? What's going on? And maybe they'll say, nothing at all. But maybe they'll say, yeah, actually I've had a lot. I'm sorry, I shouldn't have said to you. I don't know, but you never know what can come from this conversation when you just kind of like let go a little bit and you're open. And I feel like I've really had to learn that a lot in my life, of like being open in relationships, not holding on so tightly, or like actually just being open about like what's going on, how I'm feeling about relationships, or just like talking a little bit more, not just like sweeping things under the rug. I feel like the 2020s or the rest of the 2020s are almost over, which is insane. Let's not sweep things under the rug. Let's go into the 2030s, not sweeping things under the rug. So good question. I think our relationships are so important. And in our like Catholic life, our relationships are so much of how we live out our Catholic life. Like, the framework is like the theology. The framework is the Bible, but living it out is usually living it out with other people and to other people. We cannot do this life on our own, and we are required to live this Catholic life together. So let's make sure we're examining our relationships and examining our Catholic life through our relationships. Like, if you know every verse in the Bible, but you treat people poorly, you might be missing the point of the Bible. So, probably time to examine that relationship. So, anyway, I thought this was a great question because it kind of shows about the kind of the tension we can feel with uneasy relationships. So, great question. Moving on. This is a good one. How do you let God into your heart? I grew up in a rough environment, a dog-eat-dog type of place. But I found God now, and I understand that I have to be a good person. I help my fellow man whenever I can, but it's not out of my heart. Same thing with following the rules. Not because I respect the rules, but because I know the consequences. A lot of times I feel like this is a phony, and when I'm in church or with other Christians, I don't know what to do. Any advice? This is a great question. This is a great question. How do we follow the rules? How do we live this Catholic life if our heart isn't into it? How come my heart seems to be lagging behind my mind? My mind says, let's do the right thing. But my heart says, I don't want to, or that's lame, or that's cringy, or I don't know, I don't fit in here. I don't know what to do. And I think some people can open their heart and just like pour their heart out, let their heart be open, soft, moldable for God. And I think some people have a harder time opening their heart because of scars, trauma, wounds, pain. Our hearts can get hardened over time. That's why in the Bible so many times talks about hard hearts, in the Psalms. You think we don't even know when our hearts are really hard. I think sometimes like this guy, we understand there's like a conflict. Like we know when we're maybe not really into it. And I know I felt that in my life. Like you follow the rules because you're supposed to, but like, you know what? If I didn't get caught, I maybe would rather not do the rules. Or you know what? Like sometimes I don't like these rules. I just want to maybe be happy following the rules. I think, not natural rule followers, it can be hard to sometimes live out the rules of the faith, or live, trying to be more when you feel like, well, I'm not a natural rule follower. What do I do? So I think the really, really important thing to understand is when we feel like, when there is that tension or there is that like hardness of heart, God is really trying to knock that down, because you can only follow the rules for so long without giving your heart in. You can't, like, the Christian life is all about heart. You gotta have your heart into it. You can't do this life without your heart being into it. You can't really, really do it without going for it. There's gonna be ups, there's gonna be downs. We're going to have good days, bad days, but you have to be willing to kind of give over parts, your whole heart to God. And I think that's really, really hard for a lot of us. One way to let God soften a hard heart is prayer. We hear this. I think a lot of times we try to hide from God in prayer. We try to give him a report card of what's going on in our lives. And we say, hey, this is what's going on, man. It's going pretty good. Also, I want these 10 things. And then that's our prayer. Okay, that's our prayer. But prayer should ultimately be a place in our heart where we only let God in. We share, we let him into our pain, we let him into our wounds, we let him into our secrets, the things that we hold on to. And we let him in so he can transform us in those deep, dark, private parts of our heart. And we let him transform us so he can soften our hearts. When we let him into parts of our heart, just for him, and he transforms our hearts start to soften, and he can transform every other parts of our lives. And we can let go a little more, and we can trust God a little more in following the rules and living this life, not like hating the life and being like, well, I do this because I don't want to like go to hell. Well, no, like God wants to actually soften your heart and show you the joy and fun of this life, show you the fun and fun of this life, not let it be like a burden, but let it be freedom. So praying and keeping a special place in your heart for God in prayer, letting him into the deepest parts of your heart will help soften your heart. It's a lifelong journey, breaking down the walls around our heart. We spend so much of our time building fortresses around our hearts to not let people in, to not let God in, to hide ourselves from pain. And part of this Christian life is that we actually have to tear those walls down. We have to let God tear those walls down, let him in, and then rebuild our heart in his image. And that's really hard, and it can be painful to break down the walls. But you have to give your heart over to God little by little, or else you're like, you can't do this life without giving over your heart. Like, following the rules with your mind is not the Christian life. Following the rules with your mind is not being a Catholic. But letting God into your heart to transform your heart, to transform your mind, transform your thoughts, transform your actions, transform your behavior, that's the Catholic life. Constant transformation into Jesus. And it starts with giving your heart over more and more and letting God into your heart. So, great question. Okay, last one for the day. Is depression a sin? I saw something that said recently depression is considered a sin. I find this difficult to believe. It's already extremely hard to live in life, but depression a sin? Any advice or clarity on this? Okay, first and foremost, before we kind of get into a mental health talk, no, depression is not a sin. I don't know where you heard this. I don't know who said this. Depression is not a sin. As we kind of are growing in our discussions about mental health as Catholics, let's also be aware that there is a spiritual aspect to this. Not necessarily to the why of we have mental health disorders, but there also is like spiritual battle. There's a spiritual realm with this. So you're fighting depression. Let's also make sure that you're fighting against shame. You're fighting against anger. Don't get angry. If you're feeling anger for being depressed, that's not, that is because it's not a sin. Don't get angry because it's not a sin. A lot of Catholics have depression. A lot of Catholics have anxiety. A lot of people suffer in silence. A lot of people talk about it. You're not alone, but you have to know it's not a sin. It is not wrong. Seek the help. Talk to people. Don't be embarrassed. Don't be ashamed. Get the prayers you need to get prayed over with. Get the help you need to get help with. But yeah, don't let yourself kind of be overtaken by some sort of like shame or anger around this, because it's, part of a broken world that we live in. So yeah, praying for you out there who have mental health issues. You're not alone. Talk to someone who has done it before. Don't hold it inside. So that's all I'll say about that. But yeah, reach out. Let me know if you kind of have any mental health issues and how you deal with them and how you kind of deal with that balance of like morale. Do you ever feel like it's moral, immoral? Because it's easy for me to say, oh, it's not immoral, it's not a sin. But maybe those of you that suffer from it pretty badly feel like, no, it feels like it's deeply sinful for some reason. So I don't know if you maybe feel like it is super sinful for some reason. I don't know. But if you kind of suffer from any mental health issues and you feel like it, you have any advice on this, if you feel like you have any advice or any helpful thoughts or words on this, I'd love to hear from you, because I think this is an important topic to talk about. Important for us Catholics, important for guys, important for families to talk about, to not sweep this stuff under the rug. So that's it for me today. Thank you all so much for watching. Thank you for stopping by. I appreciate you all as always. Make sure you like, subscribe, share this podcast with someone you think might like it. I'll talk to you guys soon. Peace. Bye.